I remember being a happy baby and a happy kid. I had an older brother and a younger sister, and we grew up next door to a farm. It was an ideal childhood. I had a great boyhood, especially after receiving a full scholarship to the Blake School. I was a state champion track guy. I had a great and wonderful time with my classmates. There were only 40 of us in my class, so we got a lot of attention from teachers, and our social life was wonderful as well because there was a girls' school nearby. My mother was a very bright and had a very great positive philosophy of life. When I would visit, we would spend hours and hours. Through the years, my visitations resulted in delightful conversations, sitting on hard chairs and drinking cold coffee, just the two of us sharing a joyful philosophy all day long. My parents, bless their souls, drove all the way from Minnesota to New Hampshire to attend my graduation. I had a magnificent senior year. I was selected to speak at graduation. I was a class secretary, I was my class photographer, and I was a member of the Senior Honor Society. I was the Castle Graham editor for that senior society, and for 10 years I wrote meaningful editorials about Merlin and Arthur and idealism and knighthood and chivalry. It was a wonderful, wonderful element of my life. I was the Merlin of my Cask and Gauntlet Senior Honor Society at Dartmouth College. I had a legendary year. I was especially energized and pleased when I was invited by the current students to address the round table in the Grail Room and giving me the opportunity to talk about nobility and idealism. It was a wonderful experience relating to the students. Cask and Gauntlet provided me with so many opportunities through the years to contribute my personal magic. I was able to use my interior design skills, my organizational abilities, my hardware knowledge, my work with lasers, lighting. It was a match made in legend, I guess you would say. I was able to contribute to Cask and Gauntlet for 60 years in a number of ways, and it proved to be a major highlight in my life. Here is a testimonial from the president of the Cask and Gauntlet Society following my announcement that I was retiring from my active role as Merlin after 60 years. Here's what he had to say. This summer, 2019, and to our great sadness, Joel Heathcote, 61, our longtime Merlin of Merlins, formally stepped back from active wizard leadership of Cask and Gauntlet. There have been few in C&G's history who have been more beloved by delegations over the decades. We are grateful for Joel's singular persona and his ever-engaging presence, as well as his innumerable contributions to our organization over the years, always focused on the unwavering objective of reigniting the knights and ladies of Cask and Gauntlet. It came to pass at Cask and Gauntlet that when we looked at our 100-year-old ritual, we found it overly parochial and not any longer appropriate to a society with both men and women in it. So I wrote a new anthem that was said, expressed, and recorded, and was played at every gathering of the Round Table for 20 years or so. Here it is. It's called Our Banner Bright Unfurled. Awake, awake, ye of stout heart and clear mind, arise. The cause is joined, Arthur's banner bright unfurled. There is no cloud can dim, nor earthly circumstance despise the will of noble souls bent on building a wiser world. Single hast thou wandered, exploring both cipher and prose, and as ye sought to find thy way, the light of the Grail arose, which is the spirit of C&G, that all thy days be lighted by the memory of the moment you were knighted. In times before, 'twas the tyrant's might that kept the land in dread, and Arthur's gleam was just a dream that put might for right instead. Now here ye are in a modern day, costumed unlike before, but make no mistake, ye knightly ones, Merlin's spinning his spell once more. Doubt not thy power, it comes not from title nor yield. Strong character is thy armor, high ideals will be thy shield. Shake off the dust they've gathered for centuries as they've stood, awaiting your knight spirit rising, your awakening to the good. So once again, as once before, heralds ride the land, seeking those of special virtue to join this noble band. If you can serve without thought of gain, if thy heart doth now resound, then raise our cry, Knights unite, and join the table round. And my association with the Senior Society and the legend of King Arthur awakened very deep values within me. I found that my very soul was stirred by the possibility of creating in this wonderful college, in this wonderful society, individuals who are better for the experience. I said a regular toast that was given at the round table on many occasions. Here's what it is. Quote, "The true grail is found within your own noble soul. It is the light that gives you your very being. Quest for it, find it, then trust it. It will bring you home where Merlin waits for you." After 2 years as a naval officer and 5 years of corporate distraction at Procter & Gamble, I realized I needed more freedom and creativity in my life. So I sold my stuff and traded my fancy car for this yellow camper bus, Volkswagen, and hit the road for colorful California. Next stop, Laguna Beach and freedom. I had accomplished my freedom, but I hadn't an idea of what my quest ought to be. And then, about a year after landing in California, I was touring Paramahansa Yogananda's garden center on Sunset Boulevard in Santa Monica, and a little sign appeared among the plants. Not a large sign, just maybe 12 inches wide, and it changed my life. It said, "Everything in life can wait except the search for God. That cannot wait." And I just stood there, resonated so deeply to my very bones. Besides light and color, I would seek the living God. Thus inspired, I thrived in Southern California. It turns out my fellow artists and friends in California became a very functional team. We put together a really big festival occupying the best, most interesting people in 4 coastal communities in Southern California. It really went viral, you might say, but it was well before computers. But the Spring Flower Festival had a parade, 55 events, wonderful follow-up, not any problems at all, not even a broken glass, with hundreds of people dancing in the fields. It was great. For the 5th year of the Flower Festival, I got to lead the whole Midsummer Magic Parade as Merlin, sitting on a horse, a unicorn, and leading the parade right down Main Street of Encinitas, California. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. The festival went on for 11 years. It invigorated the town and brought about a wonderful experience and spirit, really, of that whole community. I was a very happy man and was very popular in town for several years because I was the MC and the organizer of the Flower Festival. I co-founded a cooperative artist studio space in Encinitas, California called Wonderworks. 8 local artists built their dreams and exchanged creative inspiration and ideas for 11 fun-filled years. It was a great contribution to the art life of Southern California. And speaking of colorful contributions, here's a picture of my idea of traveling. It's called the Chariot, and it all packed into something that I could tow behind my car. And in a fit of creativity, I took off for parts unknown in this wonderfully colorful creation thing. I got as far as Santa Barbara before I realized that was not the life for me, and I ran home to San Diego and put the Chariot up on blocks, but it was a great and colorful experience. The Merlin legend continued to inspire me into forming something called the Avalon Society. We put on events, kind of medieval costumes and Arthurian and Merlin, and it was a wonderful situation. And we created that in order to put together a tour of England, of Arthur's very haunts there in southern England. And 5 of us went to England, and led by me, we had a wonderful, wonderful experience walking where Arthur had walked. At least the legend says so. Jumping ahead 3 decades, a whole new chapter opened up when I moved to rural New Hampshire in 2007. I was given the wondrous opportunity to design and build and supervise the construction of a very creative habitat in the woods called Forest Moon in the woods of the White Mountains of New Hampshire. I spent 3 happy summers building it and 9 more enjoying it with my buddy. Here we are, Forest Moon. Building Forest Moon was a wonderful, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me because I had great freedom of design. Rumney, New Hampshire is so small, there was no zoning. So I was able to call on my many years of design and installation experience, lighting especially, and I creatively customized everything. Painted murals on the walls, all the furniture was color coordinated. It was wonderful. Forest Moon was my masterpiece. I love to laugh, and I have a large repertoire of really good jokes. Over the years, I've culled it down to my favorite 99. So let me share a few of them with you right here, right now, as this is a very significant part of my life, particularly in the last couple of years. And as you can see, my skill set about joke telling is right up there, and they're gaining good reputation among my friends. So here we go. Right, joke time. So here is my most popular joke. Do you all remember Pope Benedict? Remember back in the early 90s, he was the elected Pope and spoke to the UN in New York City. What you might not know is that he chartered a limousine after his speech at the UN in New York, and he was going to visit a small parish north of the city where he had served as a young cleric. And he's riding along in the limousine there in the back seat, going along just fine. And he's German, as you recall, and he said to the driver, you know, in Germany, I was always loving to drive on the Autobahn. It was such a thrill for me to drive fast, fast, fast on the Autobahn. I like that. And I cannot do that now. Well, wait. I think I want to drive the limo. Yes, I want to drive the limo. I don't think that's a good idea, Holiness. This is a very tough town. This is Riverside Drive, New York City. You are a Catholic man, yes? Yeah. Well, I am the Pope and I want to drive the limo. So they switch places, and the Pope is loving it. They're cruising up north of the city on Riverside Drive, faster and faster and faster. And ooh! Officer Muldoon spots him, pulls him over. He walks up to the car, the window starts to go down, and he looks in, and there's there is the Pope. And he says, oh, Holy Father, it's you. Oh, I need to talk for the chief. Chief, I got a VIP problem here. Is he more important than the mayor? Oh, yes, sir. Is he more important than the governor? Oh, yes, sir. Well, who is this guy? How come he's so important? He said, sir, I think it's God. He's got the Pope driving for him. Ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha. This one is Sisters of St. Francis. So, guy from New Jersey is driving through the dark back country roads, and he sees a big sign that says, Sisters of St. Francis, House of Easy Virtue, 10 miles. House of Easy Virtue, what does that mean what he thinks it means? So he goes along, and 5 miles later, another sign. 5 miles, Sisters of St. Francis, House of Easy Virtue, your pleasure is our pleasure. Well, he is engaged now, so he goes along, and of course, after 5 more miles, there's a big sign, parking here, Sisters of St. Francis, House of Easy Virtue. So he goes up to this really big castle-y kind of door, and bonk, 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 pounds on the door, opens up, and there's a big, tall nun standing there. She said, good evening, sir. Are you here for services? Yes, services. I'm here, yeah, for services. Please come in. If you'll go down the hallway and make your donation to Sister Mary Lee's there, put it in the basket, thank you. And so, he looks down the hallway, and there's another nun with a basket. So he walks down, puts $200 bills in her basket, and she says, this way, sir. And she indicates the door. He steps through the door, closes behind him, and clicks locked. And there's in front of him, right at eye level, is a sign that said, you have been screwed by the Sisters of St. Francis. You deserve it, you dirty sinner. Retrograde. A wife, unfortunately, dies and goes to heaven. And as she's at the pearly gates there, St. Peter says, well, okay, let's see if you're on the list. Let's see, Margaret Johnson. There you are. Okay, you're cleared to go in. But we have a word. You need to spell a word before you can go in. It's a new policy here, God, that put out. She said, okay, well, what's the word? And he says, love. You mean L-O-V-E? She says, yep, that's it. Come on in. And so she goes in, and as it is in heaven, everybody's family is gathered around. It's like an Italian restaurant with white tablecloths all over the place and family, friends, and it's wonderful. So her table is not very far from the gate, so she's there with her family for a couple of weeks. At which point, St. Peter says, Margaret, would you mind watching the gate? I got to go talk over some stuff with God. And she says, oh, of course. So she's at the gate, and her husband shows up. And she said, Richard, what are you doing here? What happened? He said, oh, Margaret, you wouldn't believe the troubles I had. Now, after you died with cancer, and that was sad, but I started dating that beautiful little gynecology nurse, Gigi. And, she was so cute, everything. And then I won the lottery, and I got rid of that shack that you and I lived in, and we got a really nice house for Gigi and me. And with that strong athletic body of hers, she wanted to take up water skiing, and so I went along with that, and got to the point where we were going to water ski tournaments all over the country and having a really great time. And I fell, and I caught a ski in the back of my neck here, and I died, and here I am. How do I get in? She said, well, you have to spell a word. And he said, okay, great, what's the freaking word? And he said, Czechoslovakia. Now this one is called the Yankee Duck. So this big city hunter is up in the woods of New Hampshire where the Yankees live, and he shoots him a duck, and it lands on the grassy part on the other side of a fence. So he's climbing over the fence to retrieve his dead duck, and the farmer comes down and says, hey there, mister, what you doing? And he said, I'm getting my duck. He said, ain't your duck, it's my duck. Well, how come it's your duck? He said, it landed on my field, it's my duck. Well, I shot it, it's my duck. So they go back and forth, but finally the Yankee farmer says, well, we got a way of settling things like this. We call it Yankee justice. And we said, well, how does that work? He said, well, one of us starts and kicks the other guy in the shins. And then he kicks him in the other shin, and then we switch, and the first person gets to kick the shin of the second guy. And then whoever gives up first, you go back and forth that way until somebody just can't get up anymore and do it. So it's a shin kicking justice. What do you say? And he says, oh, well, okay, I guess it sounds fair. So the farmer says, I'll go first because it's my land. So he winds up with his steel-toed farmer's boot and kicks that big city guy right in the shin so hard. The guy just drops to the ground, writhing in pain, rolling around, screaming and crying and writhing. He finally musters the courage to stand up again, and the farmer kicks him in the other shin, and he falls down, and he's rolling around on the ground and crying out and crying. And then he finally crawls up to his legs again. He says, okay, now you son of a bitch. Now it's my turn. And the farmer says, nah, don't worry about it. You can have the duck. Father Shenanigans bought 2 parrots, and he wanted to prove the power of Catholicism. He was going to teach them to pray. And sure enough, he named them after Old Testament prophets, Isaiah and Ezekiel, and he taught them to pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. They got to doing that all the time. He was so proud of them. He announced it to the congregation that his parrots, Gabriel and Ezekiel, were praying constantly all the time. In fact, they got so good at it that he taught them how to do the rosary. So with their talents, they would actually pick up the rosary beads and go through the rosary, Holy Mary, Mother God, and so on. Well, one day a parishioner calls up the father and says, Father, I've got a problem. My husband gave me 2 girl parrots for my birthday, and I'm afraid they've got a sordid reputation because they keep saying, we're hookers, want to have some fun? Want to have some fun? And Father Shenanigans says, don't you worry about a thing, darling. My boys are so pure, so decent, that they'll take care of it. They'll convert those girls. Just bring them on over and we'll put them in the cage, and it'll take very few minutes before the boys teach them the right way. They're all parrots after all. So they bring the 2 girl parrots and put them in the cage with Gabriel and Ezekiel. And the girls, true to form, do their thing. We're hookers. Want to have a good time? We're hookers. Want to have a good time? At which point Gabriel says, drop the beads, Zeke. Our prayers have been answered. I'm from Minnesota. We've got a lot of Norwegians there and a lot of Swedes. And there's kind of a rivalry between these two. The Norwegians tend to get the lower paying jobs and kind of factory worker, blue collars types. And the Swedes are usually more successful. And that's the case here in Mankato, Minnesota, where Ole is the Norwegian and Carl Johnson owns a local Volvo dealership. It's quite a prosperous, he's retired actually. So one day, Ole goes off to work. He has a lunchbox, with a thermos in it, and he gets halfway, he walks to work, and he gets halfway there, and he realizes he forgot his thermos. So he turns around and goes back to the house and just opens the door, goes on in. He says, Katinka's got a beautiful wife. Katinka, vervasyu, I forgot my thermos. I'm back for the thermos. Katinka, vervasyu. And nothing. So he goes upstairs. Katinka, vervasyu. And the bedroom door is closed. So he opens up the bedroom door. And there's Katinka, his wife, in the middle of the bed with no clothes on. And he says, Katinka, what are you doing there with the middle of the day in the middle of the bed and no clothes on? How come is that? And she says, well, I got no clothes. You got no clothes? Well, that's crazy. Look over here in the closet. 1 dress, 2 dress, 3 dress. Hi, Carl. 4 dress, 5 dress, 6 dress. So let's wind it up with 3 Father Shenanigans prize jokes. So Father Shenanigans is my favorite alter ego, and he knows lots of jokes. So here's one of the fun ones. About a man who orders 3 beers. So this is in Ireland, and Father Shenanigans is in the pub, and a man comes in and orders 3 beers, all at the same time, lined up 1, 2, 3, like that. And he drinks them and goes home, and the next day does the same thing. And after several days of this 3 beers business, the folks in the pub are getting kind of curious, and so the Seamus, the bartender, says, welcome to the pub, and we're glad to have your business, Mr. O'Leary, but what is it with the 3 glasses of beer all at the same time? He says, well, I've got 2 brothers, and we love each other. And wherever we're traveling, we've just got a pact that will order beers as if the other 2 brothers were there with us. And he says, oh, that's wonderful. What a wonderful habit that is. And that continues for several more days, 3 beers, 3 beers, 3 beers. And one day Mr. O'Toole comes in and only orders 2 beers. And a hush falls over the pub. And it gets real quiet. And Seamus, the bartender, is wringing his towel with his hands. And he says, oh, Mr. O'Toole, I'm sorry to hear it. Has one of the boys passed away? He says, oh, no, the lads are fine. It's just that I myself have given up drinking for Lent. So Father Shenanigans is concerned because the young men of the town are taken to lazy indulgence, playing a lot of pool, hanging out in the pub. So one day he decides to do something about it, and he goes down to the pub and comes up and confronts one of the young men. He says, Jimmy O'Toole, do you want to go to heaven? He says, yes, I do, Father, I do. He said, well, then go on the other side of the pool table, stand over there against the wall. So he does, and he goes up to P.T. Ryan. He says, P.T., you want to go to heaven? I do, Father, I want to go to heaven. So will you go over and stand with Jimmy then? That's fine. On the other side of the pool table. Yes, right up against the wall there, just stand there. And he comes up to the third guy and he says, oh, Robert O'Leary, do you want to go to heaven? No. You don't want to go to heaven when you die? Oh, when I die, yes, but I thought you were getting a group together to go now. So, gentlemen, it's a rainy night in Dublin, and a gentleman wants to go out to the pub and have a Guinness, and he gets there and he sees an old man sitting right on the cobblestones, the wet cobblestones, with a stick and a rope tied to the end of the stick, and he's dipping it fishing-like into the puddle there outside in the street. And that's so crazy. The gentleman figures the old man must have been daft, and he feels sorry for him. So he invites him in to the warmth and comfort of the pub and buys him a beer. And the two of them are drinking their beer, and the gentleman looks over at the old man and says, well, kind of sarcastic-like, says, well, old man, how many have you caught today? And the old man raises his Guinness, takes a sip, and looks him in the eye and says, you're the 8th. And finally, how it is in Yankee territory when you're trying to figure out how to get to Boston. You can ask a Yankee, hey there, does this road go to Boston? Nope, don't go nowhere, just lies there. Well, can I take this road to Boston? Wish you wouldn't, we're still using it. Well, what's the best way to get to Boston? Are you walking or driving? I'm driving. Well, that's the best way. Well, that's it. That's the joke break. Let's go back to the soul of Joel. Now from the humorous to the sacred. Another increasingly important element of my middle and later years. I found myself becoming more centered in my inner world and more cautious in the outer world. And I realized that I am a man of spirit. Here is my main prayer. I say it several times a day. It strengthens me. Sometimes the way's not clear how I should go from here. So now I pause and pray, knowing my God knows my way. I put away the chart my cautious mind designs, and following my heart, I thrust, then trust. Now, flowing with the flow, I go by letting go, knowing it is God's will to bring me to the quiet and the still, where I become the me God means for me to be. That's my poem, my prayer, my joy. Sacred doesn't have to be frilly. Pagan is powerful and positive. Here are some of my wilder moments. This one is at Burning Man in 2006. The creativity and generosity of the very happy people there at Burning Man changed forever my idea of fun. I've had some wildly wonderful adventures. I actually got to Burning Man 3 times. Wow. My highest and best moments were when I felt I was in the presence, with a capital P, of my angel nature. I attended, through the years, many uplifting churches, such as Agape up in Santa Monica, Quest Haven in Escondido, California, and even the Unitarian Fellowship in New Hampshire. and I benefited immensely from them, their teachings, their group, their people. I made a lot of friends. It was wonderful. And I spent a goodly number of weekends at personal growth seminars, and likewise, although not churches, they were immensely valuable for me. So Sacred Soul, I paid attention to my soul, and I'm glad I did, because now I have a happy heart and a clear mind, and I'm looking forward to the rest of my life. More spiritual activity. This one is a big change in my life. From about 20 years ago, when I was about age 60, I started meditating in the morning, and I've been very faithful to that practice ever since. I promised myself I won't read email or check anything else out until I've already meditated. So here is what I wrote about meditation. What is this meditation? Is it to empty the mind? That's like trying to pick all the fish out of the lake with just one finger. Impossible, says the Western mind. Necessary, says the Eastern mind. This is what I say, using both of my minds. True meditation is to make every act into a single prayer. Laughing, crying, waving your arms, stillness, terror, evil and good, gain and loss, old and young, all are woven into the tapestry that is your life. No judgments. How can we know the Creator's plans for us? Not by our little mind, not by our empty mind, but by being, just being, fully, joyfully, open mind, open heart. Find the inner mounting joy of just being. In thy being will be thy seeing, for through a gas darkly and then face to face, behold the vastness of your grace. You are already free, you are already whole, you are already blessed. When you see this, a cloud will move away from the sun. You will behold the privilege that is your life. Rejoice, explore, say yes. I am limitless love, I am limitless light, I am limitless life. What a powerful experience. I had the opportunity to portray the prophet Isaiah in full costume and with full drama in a big, wonderful pageant. Yes. Here is my morning prayer. I say it every morning, the very first conscious action. I feel like I'm kind of aligning and dedicating the day ahead. It's a very good practice. Here it is. Angel of God, my friend since birth, guide me and guard me as I walk this earth. Grant me strength by day and peace by night as you hold me and enfold me in your heavenly light. I love pageants. The light and color and lofty purpose move my very soul. Here I am in red in a nativity scene as one of the Magi, the one called Balthazar, who I did a little research, provided frankincense to the Christ child. And frankincense in the old world represents a connection with the divine. And it's very commonly used in many churches, including the Catholic Church, to this very day. So there I am as another wise man. Here are two of my most precious objects. I've worn the silver scarab for over 50 years. It has been my companion for every adventure, and the crystal heart there in the center of it radiates out my heart light to every intimacy. To the Egyptians, the winged scarab meant that God is everywhere. After a lifetime of seeking the living God, this is my philosophy as well. Oh, and there with the trust rock, so many times when I have been afraid or confused, this trust stone has helped me center myself again. I was given the opportunity to speak powerful prophetic words. Isaiah told us to love God. Joel reminds us that God loves us. We can trust that great love. As I'm fond of quoting, This universe is guided by a benevolent hand. Clasp it and walk unafraid. All blessings of the season of gratitude and inner light be yours. I learned to open my heart by attending excellent relationship seminars, teachings, and personal experiences with wise, worldly, and wonderful women. In the second half of my life, the practice of Tantra especially awakened a deep sensuality in me and brought me much sacred pleasure. I gave lots of massages. In my 20s, I was in the advertising biz, and it was smart to be smart. The Mensa IQ test was the standard. I made the cut and was relaxed about my intelligence for the rest of my life. I was sometimes foolish, but I was rarely dim. But it is necessary to balance mind and heart, as we all must do. And Reverend Michael Beckwith showed me how to balance love and wisdom in the famous and useful Agape teachings. I am very grateful to Agape. I have always been idealistic, and I've always loved the stars. Here's an example of just the sheer cosmic beauty. This portico has a comet in the center of it going through the opening. And the name of that comet, no kidding, is Comet Lovejoy. Well, that about says it up. Here's another way of saying that poetically. We are part of the sea and the stars. We are part of the winds of the south and the north. We are part of mountain, moon, and Mars. And the ages have sent us forth. Onward. In my 50s, I got serious about my spiritual progress. I read many books. I joined several churches. I began meditating. I deliberately explored many pathways, putting out a broad base of information. I was consciously deepening my roots and raising my realities, and it all worked. Now at age 82 plus, I feel peace in my soul, clarity in my mind. I'm loving and I am beloved. My mother would be pleased. I have known love's bliss. I have been fortunate to know deep partnerships. I have known deep compatibility and wisdom and inspiration, and I have known great pleasure, even ecstasy, through women and the sacred feminine. I have learned much, loved much, and enjoyed much. Aphrodite's daughters. Beauty. Athena's sisters. Womanly wisdom. I enjoyed some wonderful adventures with some wonderful women. Thank you, Goddess. I have dedicated much time and much pleasure in my life in exploring the very art of romance. The concept of being both chivalrous and cosmic, poetic and yet powerful, wise and sometimes wild, playful and always passionate. Here I would like to read you a document I wrote that exemplifies that romantic commitment that I have in my soul. I am a knight of love. That's with the K, of course. I am a knight of love. My heart of hearts speaks. I have a deep love to give, and I am seeking a willing woman of the world who would most benefit from my devotion, to be most inspired by my character, and most pleasured by my passion. Knights of old used their strength to defend the weak, the downtrodden, the feminine, and thus they created chivalry. It was the time when noble, virile, well-born knights enthusiastically placed worthy women in positions of respect and romantic admiration. Cyrano and Lancelot come to mind. Now here we are in a modern day. Where would we find those noble romantic gestures today? I speak for no other, but for myself, Joel, I say, I am a knight of love. I delight in offering my creativity, my manliness, my devotion to those ladies of virtue, those women of the world who are most inspired by my character, most elevated by my philosophy, and most healed by my touch. That is my lover's quest. Should my search succeed, and if I am partnered in fullness by such a woman, even briefly, I envision a positively miraculous level of co-creation, great good humor, and spiritual sensuality. I name this quest of mine Tantric Chivalry. It is my most direct path to releasing that deep love which is pulsing even now in my heart to give, fully and freely. I am a knight of love. My poetry. Here is my life poem. I'm just a man, and yet sometimes the green skin of ripened limes or the pink and gold of a naked heel takes my heart and makes it feel. Then I'm a god who tints and blends and loves and laughs and comprehends. Hunger and honor are my creed, and a life of joys without the needs. And now I'm a horse who flies, not runs. I capture color from 1,000 suns and spread it here on the earth below, so you can see, so you can know. That was the poem that, in the age of digital dating, I use most frequently to send out to prospective girls, friends, women, friends. It's always been my introductory poem, my life poem. What is the color of the wind? One day, an 11-year-old named Chloe asked me if I knew so much about color, did I know the color of the wind? It was kind of challenging, but here is my reply that I wrote and sent to her. What is the color of the wind? The wind is white and pure, clear and complete as a mountain morning. All colors blend into its whiteness. It looks empty, but it is full. Now watch. As earth wakes up to a new day and begins to dress itself, all creation borrows the colors of the wind to drape themselves in beauty. The dew-dripping pines scrub out the green to cover each branch. Hummingbirds dart into the quivering breezes, dabbing themselves in iridescent pink and purple and lime and ruby and silver and turquoise. Grumbling bears claim the wind's brown as their own, shaking it all over their shaggy bodies at dawn. Firstborn daffodils know the yellow is theirs. The lilacs claim the indigo. The great sun knows its own and inhales every bit of orange to pulse out for the day's light ahead. What is the color of the wind? If you see it very early in the first sparkle of the light, it is all the colors of the rainbow. But if you miss that moment when all life on earth claims the wind's colors, clothing themselves for the glory of the day, well, all you'll find is her pure, clear, transparent heart as she flows here, now there, visiting all her artworks, all the creatures, the flowers, the rivers, the trees, the rocks, the snowcaps, the winged ones, all are busy about their day, all shine with the colors borrowed from the wind. And at day's end, in the peace and compassion of twilight, the wind visits all creation again, gathering back all her colors as she goes to rest in the mountains, and the world drifts peacefully into the velvety black of sleep. 1996, to Chloe. The crane. Several years ago, two friends decided to complete their 7-year courtship with a simple, poetic wedding, followed by a move to the East Coast. They asked me to compose a simple litany for their ceremony. She was very artistic and passionate. He was very steady and committed. They chose the crane as the symbol for their union, for cranes mate for life, and they fly together. Here's that poem. See there, look, among the reeds, painted pink by dawn, stands a single crane. Dipping each wingtip in the rose-gold pond, she bathes her feathers, letting the wind dry them. What's that cry? Up there against the clouds, a white shadow circles. She trembles, afraid of hawks. Hawk-like, he folds his wings and plummets. But what hawk could skim the reed tops so closely? What hawk has such wide white wings, turned silver by the morning light? What hawk could so gently land beside her? By black water, by shining water, making the reed tops swirl and dance with the wind from their wings departing, flying towards the morning moon in the east, faintly, two cranes. August 1980. This one is called Incubation. This is from June 6, 1994. The greatest accomplishment is to be what we truly are. It is to be that which we have been since birth, our Creator's idea of us. What is in our lives is there as a path to growth, to goodness, to fulfillment. Our prayer should not be for the path to change, to erase a circumstance, to declaw a challenge, but rather to pray for the patience, the trust, the strength to abide in the holy darkness of unknowing, of incubation, just before we are reborn. The Call of Soul for Joel. This is the most important experience in the world to me, Joel. The quote below was sent to me. It brought me to that deep soul state where tears come full flooding behind my eyes, when my heart thumps and bursts and opens, and I feel my connection to God, to something great, something wonderful, warm, wise, and welcoming. In that precious moment, I was embraced. What I came to know as the soul of the true state, and the rest is personality. So here is the reading called The Call of Soul. The call of soul, when it comes, is unmistakable. It can come at any time. It is that flashpoint moment when you finally become filled with knowing that the one and only thing you ever really wanted and sought through 1,000 different avenues of power, sex, money, drugs, wealth of all kinds, poverty, misery, mud, slime, fail, anger, and all the other costumes, dramas, and intrigues throughout the ages, the one and only thing that you ever wanted, the only thing that could make your heart just sing with joy and tears of rapture spilled on your face in a flood, that one thing is to know, to really know that you belong to God and have always belonged to God, that your life was never yours, but has always belonged to that great author of all, and that you have never been separated, not even for 1 second, from God, and the desire and thoroughly overwhelming passion that eclipses all other things to return to you their true home. That hunger for nothing less than absolute surrender, when you know that the very roots of your being are sunk deep into the soil of the gardens of heaven. Eureka! This is the call of soul. When you are swept up into the very arms of God, crushed to his bosom, enfolded and dissolved in that mighty love, that shadowless light, when you feel as though you were coming apart at the seams and you're being burned to cinders, and when you hunger with every atom and molecule to be laughing ashes, this is the call of soul. And whether it comes before birth, and that passion dogs you for your entire life, with every day, every moment, and every tear and every laugh, or whether it comes after a brush with death, or whether it comes on your deathbed, the call of soul will most surely come. It will most surely come. And a quote from Rumi, "Come, come, wherever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Come, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, come again." Rumi. Here is the prayer of St. Francis and Joel. This poem is dedicated to the eternal memory of my mother Gladys. I've retranslated St. Francis to personalize it for more modern times. This is my most sacred, heartfelt prayer. I only say it when I can really mean it. I realize how it changes my stance in this world to one of service, contribution, and acceptance. Here then is the revised version of the prayer of St. Francis. O Lord of light, make me an instrument of thy will. O Lady of love, make me a vessel for thy compassion. Where there is sorrow, let me bring joy. Where there is confusion, let me bring clarity. Where there is iniquity, let me bring forgiveness. Where there is doubt, let me bring trust. And where there is dimness, let me bring bright. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. O Creator, God of my soul, grant that I seek not so much to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love, to be consoled as to console. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in forgiving that we are forgiven, and it is in dying to the iniquities of this world that we are born again into limitless life, limitless love, and limitless light. Christmas Eve, December 24th, 1999. Poem on my 25th birthday. Isn't this amazing? I still have this poem that I wrote at my first job in 1963 in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I was 25 years old, fresh from being an English major at Dartmouth. That's why the poem is rather, let's say, stilted and mental. But here it is, poem on my 25th birthday. Stopped now, nothing eager in me. Time to turn my head all the way round, look everywhere, every time. Emotions in order: mildness, mild happiness, mild wistfulness, mild promise, mild worry. 1/3 gone. Is the where I am where it should be? Will it be? Concern. Is there one ant unstepped on because of me? And over and around me in this quiet, bright day, rain is to wash, sun is to dry, laugh is to laugh, cry is to cry. Thank you, God, power, creator, for this lump of life, love, laugh. Peeling the onion aggressively, perhaps my tears will help me see I'm no empty shell, no careless void. Underneath me, there's an eye inside. I'm mine to do with as I please. I'm mine to do with as I please. Good boots, strong rope, full pack, and before me, mountain after mountain after mountain. December 1963. Leap Day poem. God loves an idle rainbow no less than laboring seas. The pounding tide will soon subside and the hurricane dwindle to breeze. For good and ill and to and fro are all encompassed in the one holy plan. It's fear of birth, not fear of death, that causes such blindness in man. See death as the bridegroom and love as the bride. As the wings of eternity give them a ride. Find the place where all is all, where the many are simply the one. There you'll sparkle amidst the rainbow's fall and happily swallow the sun. 2/29/1982. Greetings from Joel. This is my profile. I call it my pumpkin profile, and you can read it at your leisure and all that small type. But here's a summary. My name, Joel Heathcote. Age, eternal. Birthday, December 7th. College, Dartmouth College. Major, English with a minor in psychology. Try to outfox them if you can't outtalk them, you know. Favorite book, MacBook. Favorite color, orange. Favorite movie, Fantasia. Favorite food, baked potato. Favorite quote, Lucem servio antiquum. I serve the ancient light. Reading the profile will give you some ideas of how I do that, but that is my profile for today. The poem Prisms. I came across a quote from the great and wise German philosopher Wolfgang von Goethe that a defect in something was not what it appeared, and it may indeed eventually lead to a benefit if we but give God and nature time to work out our best destiny. I took that idea from Goethe and built this poem on top of it, using light to make my point. Prisms. Imagine a morning sunbeam, perfect, precise, and clean. A world unto itself, it seems, a bright but empty stream. But if a crystal prism piece is thrust into its path, a burning spectrum is released, each hue that nature hath. Sometimes a human plan is polished till it's pure, an image of oneself perhaps, or a cause whose end is sure. Then circumstance is often sent to pull our plans apart, and midst the broken fragments, we tend to lose our heart. Let us learn to trust the way things change. Let life's intruding prisms teach our eyes, for only disruption reveals the hidden color's range, and so may a glory from a defect arise. Prisms, 695. Simply assisting God. Well, sometimes I'm asked where I get my ideas, where my creativity comes from, what it's like to be an artist, to live the life of an artist. Is it a spiritual thing, they ask, or is it of a mind thing? Does it happen in the brain? Can you make it happen? That's when I quote them this wonderful, simple description of the mystery of creativity. It was written by a Danish mathematician and poet, Piet Hein. I happily share it with you.
Try not to leave the room a mess.
It's called Simply Assisting Gods. I am the humble artist, molding my earthly clod, adding my labor to nature, simply assisting God. Not that my efforts are needed, but somehow I understand. My Maker has willed that I too should have unmolded clay for my hands. Piet Hein. Wasn't that lovely? That's it, simply assisting God. This picture is me at my happiest. I just landed a week before driving across the country, and I'm now taking up a whole new life in New Hampshire. As you can see, it's autumn, and as you can further see, I've got sparkles of raindrops on my jacket. It was just a wonderful experience to plunge into fall. And I wrote the few words here just to capture the moment. Remember, seasons change, we change. Let us trust the hand that paints the hills with autumn. And a smiling face. So if you want to remember me, remember that face, because there I am being happy in autumn in God's way. My Christmas poem, which is also a movie. You can see it on YouTube. but here it is in verbal form. Many years ago, my mother asked me to write some words for her annual and very classy Christmas card. I was honored to be asked. Now, since she was born on Christmas Day as well, I compared the idea of Jesus' glorious birth to the equally glorious birth of light within the human soul, like hers, like yours. Let us shine like stars in the year ahead. In Joel, in joy. Here's the poem. Sometime this season, without any reason, deep in your heart a hush will fall, and there in its beauty you'll glimpse for a moment the glory, the grandeur, the cause of it all. Yet it was not just then and there that it burned, the star overshining the child, for above each of life's children a star is allied, until, like the Nazarene, we let it inside. This light within is an angel spark. It waits in the manger of your own deepest heart. It's your comfort in trouble, your guide through the dark. It's your gladness at living, your joy in the light. May this season become your own holy night. Christmas, 2006. Kindle. Very afraid, I watch the circling of the lions. In the fervor of their lust, they snarled and mated. Had I gone between them then, pulling them asunder by their manes, I would have run less risk. Then, when passing by in my small boat, I saw you, naked, balancing on a dead stump, about to dive and kindle the river. Stormbringer. Great things, sky god and stormbringer. Small things, whispering grasses, hot desert winds are rouged by the sun's parting glance. Cloud people crowding after their sinking monarch are dark-faced as they look back toward the storm, rumbling. They see distant sparks from the iron rims of Lord Pluto's chariot, striking lightning on jagged peaks atop flint mountains. Closer he comes, closer. The earth braces her body for his first electric caress. Her canyons moisten and flow. He thunders his approval and releases his first bolts, clashing them in midair, not yet touching her dark skin, but dazzling her eyes with his naked skill. Impressed, she rolls her body toward him. She sends fragrant winds to call him down. Closer, closer. Birds scatter. He towers above her, sparks the thunder power building as he finds that valley of her which is most thirsty, most willing. Every part of him, dry and electric, ravishes every part of her, moist and magnetic. Stormbringer and Earthwoman are one. Their clash of passion has transformed the maiden into the woman. Persephone becomes Demeter. The life force has erupted. There will be a child. Its name is Spring. The poem, Since You Asked. I had a business associate, Joanne, from my Procter & Gamble days, and she was a native Cincinnatian, dark-haired beauty, and quite a shy woman, but she was doing very well in business that kept her in New York. She was an ambassador of some assistant of some sort. And I'd see her when I would go to New York on commercial shoots, and we had kind of an ongoing date. I was not married at the time, nor was she. And then one night, it all just fell into place, and I was in there in New York, and she was there, and we were there, and this poem was written the next day after that night of passion with my friend Joanne. Why in my poems do I make death a woman? You asked the other morning. Had you been the one to feel her fingernails on your back the night before, you would not have asked, you would have known. Had you looked inside the eyes of a woman totally distracted by passion, eyes made hollow and dark, fluttering, glimpses of someone within you, a deeper being not often summoned. I saw a pagan priestess, wide silver bracelets banding her long arms as she stretched them above her, pressing against the black silk of night sky, while the moon, her ancient goddess, floats above, watching. She is no stranger to death. She is no stranger to love. In both, she finds the power she welcomes. She dwelt in your body the other night. I buried my face in your dark hair and tasted the smoke of ancient fires. I heard her voices in your throat, cries and growls, not so distant from her animal sisters, the ancient bondage not yet broken. Your arms wrapped around me, but I felt the chill of her bracelets. She is part of you. She is the death that ends the former life. She is the power that gives life to the days to come. She is fragile. She is hungry. I will summon her again one moonlit night. I know how. I bear the marks of her teeth on my shoulder. 1980. 2 poems. 1. Light is the face of God. Light is the very body of the universe. Light is the only thing there is. We live in an ocean of light. All matter is made of light. Our bodies are made of light. Our hearts can radiate out this majesty of living light, and then we call it love. Number 2. I took a few lines from John Keats and re-edited them, and here they are. When I behold upon the sunset's western face the cloudy dancers in their heavenly trance, I thank my God that I'm alive to trace their colors with the magic brush of chance. Invitation. Come sit with me here by this stream, within this autumn afternoon. Everywhere leaves are languidly falling, leaping from their limbs, surrendering their security, parting from the only life they've ever known, suddenly surrendered to the summer wind, willing to fall forever, endless everywhere. And what could there be but a long, fluttering fall to nothingness, done, dry leaves, aged and curled, taking one last voyage, air dancing to their doom, bravely boasting their boldest colors. The lesson of the leaves: be brave, be bold, surrender all to death, to endings, to the long fall, for lo, below, the unexpected stream in full fall flow. Leaves now not dead, now not ended, but floating forward like little brown and amber boats, carried by the swift September stream, ending a life as a leaf on a limb, reshaped and burnished into these tiny, colorful ships, sailing into a whole new season of sensations, another chapter in a limitless life. Thus, a new era begins. Life is eternal. Watch it with me. Joel, Rumney, New Hampshire, Autumn Equinox, 2006. 2 poems by other artists, but they're my favorites, so I thought I'd include them in this personal biography. The first is from Erich Maria Rilke on the subject of eternal life and the secret of quantum creativity, how our mind brings things into reality. Here we are. 1,000 stars go spinning through the night, blazing in the sky above your head. Yet in you is a presence that will live when all those stars are dead. And the hour is striking so close above me, so clear and sharp that all my senses ring with it. I feel it now. There is a power in me to grasp and give shape to my world. Nothing has ever been real without my beholding it, all becoming has needed me. My looking ripens things, and they come toward me to be born. And from me, personally, beloved brothers and sisters, know this great secret of manifestation. Your dreams are waiting for you to come true. Let us live the life we imagine. A brief little poem called Wings. Death is but a concept of caterpillars, mourning an empty cocoon, while high overhead a just-born butterfly celebrates its wings. Joel W.B. Heathcote, 2018. And this one. Within you the seed of wisdom did I sow, then trusted out my heart light to make it grow. And this was all the heaven that I claim. I've loved, I've lived, I've seen your glow. May your deepest soul be warmed by my flame. I came to you on wings of fate, and to that land I go. The Prodigal. This is by another person that I respected, so I've included it. Dear Father, lift me above the littleness of doubt. Remove from me the strains of pettiness and the rags of limitation. I remember my sonship and return to thy house. Restore me to the dignity of my true self. Let me be clothed in the raiment of unshakable faith that all is well with those who trust thee. Father, I have known the darkness of distant places. I have hungered when I have feasted, and sorrowed when I might have rejoiced. But now I turn my thoughts to thee, and thy light pours forth, thy peace enfolds me with a love unchanged, unreproachable, infinite. Truly I am not a bondsman, not a servant, but a son. The past is healed and swept out of remembrance. A new day dawns, a new life begins. May I dwell henceforth in the higher consciousness of thine all-encompassing good, which frees and forgives, heals and restores, protects and prospers, now and forever. So help me God. Amen. The Stone. How sits a soul so still as be a stone, solitary, silent, massive, alone? What ages has it seen? What oceans has it known? What wisdom does it teach, resting here on its sandy throne? Valentine's Day in the Snow. This took place in my first few weeks of living and changing my residence to live in New Hampshire. And in fact, on February 14th, it snowed, and these crocuses poked their head above the snow and inspired me to write this poem. I am watching the day fill up with snow. The white hush is everywhere. A million snowflakes bring the power of peace with their feathery landings. Surely this infinity of white offers Gaia a soft repose as she dreams of a fragrant rebirth. Summer dreams pulse rhythmically deep within her infinite loins. Surely she feels calmed and protected, slumbering in winter's wide, white embrace. They share a powerful intimacy, these two, spring and winter. They both know a secret. There is a green and growing force within her. One day she will stir from her reverie, sending shy, soft winds to shake awake his frozen fields. Her warmth melts him, as it always does, and he floods. Unlocked from the ordeal of frost, he fills her every valley with liquid life. Spring again. Family party. This was on St. Patrick's Day, as you can probably tell. In 2013, our family was at pretty close to its maximum size, but now it's even bigger. Wonderful family. And next to that picture is my sister and I. We're the last two of our generation, and we get along very well. Her name is Nan, and she's wonderful. Oh, and of course, here's our founding mother, Gladys, with her usual style and class, and a poinsettia, family and friends of Joel. Here's our Heathcote family history. It's an article I wrote for a local glossy magazine for the area, and it's very small type, so it's a challenge to read, but the whole article my sister Nan has in her possession. It's been a wonderful living for two, even three generations on the same plot of land called Heathcote, our family name. Great, huh? And as a matter of fact, that's where my eternal ashes will wind up. We've had a plaque made that says Joel Burnett Heathcote of Deephaven, December 7th, 1938, till returnity. And then friend, artist, poet, knight, wizard, lover, angel. The seven aspects, as I see it, of my nature. And then this beautiful poem, though my soul may set in evening, it will rise with dawning light, for I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. Those words are inscribed on the brass plaque, which will be attached to the bench that's on the edge of what used to be our property, and now it's been transformed into a park. Good fortune for the Heathcotes. Here we get into the wonderful friends that I have enjoyed here on both coasts and of all age groups. Some activity there for the 4th of July. My friends Liz and Tom at Christmas time, you can tell. A sincere hug from another longtime friend. My Dartmouth Cask and Gauntlet leaders and my Cask and Gauntlet buddies at our last reunion. What a treat. Great friends, great friends. Especially describing my very special friend, Antoinette Lucienne Dene. She and I were best friends for 8 years of adventures, including Stonehenge and the Flower Festival and all kinds of colorful activities. And then some of my boyfriends, my cousin John, my friend Luigi, and my friend Tom. Great adventures. More friends. My cousin Johnny, encircled with his halo, and my bearded buddy Merlin, the Prince of Pagans, has opened so many doors, particularly Renaissance Fair doors for me. And then down the lower left, the author of the book and the producer, editor, and guide, John Thomas Casey, as we had lunch in Ocean View in Carlsbad a few years ago. And finally on that page, my high school friends, best friends from high school and their wives. We had a wonderful gathering. A collection of more of my wonderful friends over the years, from my motorcycle riding Dartmouth buddy John Wilkinson to my Laguna Beach buddies, my friend Luigi again, my high school friends Jimmy and Ted, and of all things, a Polaroid picture of my 3 Dartmouth College roommates. Scruffy little rascals that we are. What a time that was. 1957. Some very dramatic friends of mine. Upper left, Jeff McBride, master magician, just one of the finest people on the planet, really great man. And upper right, my friends Roger and Thea, longtime locals. Below them, Tom Richards explaining at Quest Haven his philosophy of life. And finally in the bottom left, my beautiful friend Karen, as we rendezvoused after 20 years of absence and got a kiss for it. It was great. Well, here they are, Liz and Joel, 2 friends, best friends forever. We've known each other and enjoyed each other. It's been being a really wonderful connection. And at the bottom there we see my mom and a special person for me, Patty, who came to live with me, and we had a wonderful learning experience, a true Minnesota wonderful girl. And finally, my mother, I always think of her sitting at her window, just like this, looking out on the park and the joggers and the dog walkers below, and being so graceful in her old age. Here is my daily morning prayer. It aligns me, makes me feel comforted, makes me feel empowered, and makes me feel grateful for the peace that I enjoy in my heart. Here it is. Angel of God, my friend since birth, guide me and guard me as I walk this earth. Grant me strength by day and peace by night as you hold me and enfold me in your heavenly light. Amen. Two items about teaching. Here I am teaching a class in psychology for seniors at Carlsbad High School a few years ago. That was exciting. I love to teach. And then finally, a picture of my mother. It's hard to see, but she's standing in front of a mirror with her favorite philosophy, absorption and reflection. Here is page and a half, 70. This is fun. This is a collection of Heath quotes. With a name like Joel Heathcote, I had to do it. It was just too obvious a pun. So all my adult life, I've been collecting little bits of wisdom that I would say or find elsewhere and call them a Heath quote. It's been fun. This is just a small sampling of the several hundred that I have in my archives. But here we go. Let's go a few of these. From my mother, my first teacher. I am God's favorite child. Then I would say to her, but Mom, what about other people? Aren't they God's favorite child too? And she said, oh yes, everybody's God's favorite child, but you've got to claim it. That was wise. Your dreams are waiting for you to come true. From Socrates, he who has the fewest needs lives closest to the gods. Oh, here is quantum creativity. My looking ripens things, and they come toward me to be born. Here's another. It's simply wiser to envision the world you do desire rather than the world you fear. It's just wiser. Matter is but light being patient. Now that's a big mind switch for most of us in this modern day, but do your research and discover the amazing fact that everything, what we call matter, is vibrating frequencies, and that it's made up of light, and light slowing down is what we call matter. Now those are heady concepts, but do your research. Teamwork makes the dream work. Here's another one. The purest version of God is vibration. Oh, now this is my favorite. To be or not to be, that is the question. Shakespeare. To be and not to be, that is the answer. Heathcote. Parentheses, life is best when both sides are accepted. End parent. Life is not a given, it's a gift. Lift your gift. Care, C-A-R-E, is love's higher octave. Possessions possess. This has been a major one in my personal life as I zero out my possessions. Downsizing is freedom. Quantum again. I become what I behold. Observation is necessary for actualization with quantum. But again, takes a little scientific research to wrap our minds around these amazing times we live in. Honesty is the elixir of compatibility. Use time wisely. Every second is a first. I think that is so clever. Every second is a first. I am wary of fretting or complaining, for whatever occupies my attention forms my reality. It's true of you, it's true of me, it's nature's law. I'm wary of fretting or complaining. Be brave enough to stay in neutral, particularly in personal relations. Don't react, don't scream, yell, argue, bicker, debate. Just stay in neutral. See if you can stay in neutral and just watch what's going on. In life, sex may be the spark, but awareness is the sparkle. Regarding my life's highlights, these memories, for example, I am not sad that they are over. I am simply glad that they were. Less Joel, more goal. Less sorrowful, more powerful. Less nervous, more service. Less fight, more light. Less mind, more kind. Here is another. Face your dragons or they will drag on. Good advice. Your altitude depends on the magnitude of your attitude of gratitude. I'll do that again. Your altitude depends on the magnitude of your attitude of gratitude. Here's important. Surrender is not submission. It is alignment. Important distinction. Here's a very common one again from the quantum creativity batch. I am a cloud of photons held in place by thought, bonded by love. It's a quantum truth. We are just shimmering possibilities until thought gives us form. Work on it. Light is the very face of God. Light is the very face of God. What we can see as reality is but the edge of God's presence. Wonderful. Light is what we are. Love is how we share it. I added a verse to Amazing Grace. Here it is. O God, who grants me life each morn, then sets me free to roam, thy grace has placed a light in me, the light that guides me home. That felt good to sing. Oh, and here is, I guess I'd say, my most popular quote. It's about quantum creativity again. Here it is. If it's all an illusion, and it may well be, then it's all an illusion, can't you see? Paint up the picture that you want to be and go live inside it. It's just that free. That's it, folks. Dream the life you desire, and you will get it. Now, this is a philosophy page with the cosmic consciousness being represented in the upper left there, time and space. And then a wonderful imagined scene of the Pericles and Aspasia before the oracle, in the studio of Phidias the sculptor. And in my own world, in my own life, the influence of Greek philosophers has been substantial, as of course it is for many moderns. But here I'd like to read you what I believe is the essence of my philosophy. In all my searching, I found nothing wiser than the Athenian Greeks. Their motto, know thyself, love thyself, be thyself, has rocketed down the ages and inspired countless legions of students and philosophers. I've been interested in the Greeks since childhood, especially their sacred and secret rituals and their sensual, free-spirited lifestyle. No culture has eclipsed the classical Greeks for consciously and collectively creating the laws and customs that they found produced arete. Arete, defined, means the blessings that result from striving for excellence. The Greeks honored excellence, so they produced excellence. I grew up on their mythology. I studied their history and patterned many of my values after those of Pericles. Furthermore, my relationships have been influenced by the wisdoms of his companion, Aspasia. I've sought out and have participated in those mystery rites and sacred rituals. They were magical and they changed my life for the better. Very simply, this is Joel at his center. Being centered. Seeking center. All center. The tarot. I found wisdom in many arcane places, including the tarot. I had a great time dressed as a gypsy giving free tarot readings at the Renaissance fairs. But more importantly, this was one of the numerous ways I found to get unconventional knowledge, not just the standard history taught in schools and colleges, but the rituals of the pagans and the Zoroastrians and the Greeks and the Africans, for that matter. I've spread and looked widely and broadly to sculpt my own philosophy. And it's working. Here again is a wonderful statement of my basic philosophy. This one is called The Dance. The dance represents a personal, mystical, mythical, inner journey. I'll read that again. The dance represents a personal, mystical, mythical, inner journey. Spread over a lifetime or glimpsed in a moment, the dancer discovers a vision of a more majestic and meaningful state of living. The vision becomes more vivid and realized the more the dancer looks at it, empowers it, and desires it. From birth to death, this mystical dance is going on inside of our hearts. The outer journey and interaction with the world brings many adventures, triumphs, disasters, and insights. This is the dance of know thyself. This knowledge, this increasing inner awareness becomes the guide star of our progress. The more we learn and forgive about ourselves, the brighter the welcoming inner light. Then the second classic theme of love thyself manifests more and more in each day's events. Again, this process of first knowing, then forgiving, then loving the imperfect self may take a long or a short time. The key is willingness. Our lifelong vision, the more realistic, majestic, and meaningful life we once longed for, is now at hand. This is the fulfillment of the be thyself phase of our lifelong dancing. Henceforward, joy, wisdom, and authenticity are our daily companions. Life is good. The inner work we've done as we danced our inner truth into outer worldly circumstances has freed us from the limitations of being alone and separated. Our wisdom now guides us through every circumstance. Our authenticity draws in deep, rich experiences. Our joy radiates out to invite others, all the good-seeking souls in the world, to join you, to join us all in the dance into oneness, into limitless love, limitless light, and limitless life. 10/1/2006. Page 76. Thoreau's Cabin. Henry David Thoreau was not famous nor widely read until many years after his death. Perhaps his message required more environmental concern to be noticed, as in today's critical times. I learned much from Thoreau. I learned simplicity and stillness from him, and I learned how to live deliberately. Here's how he said that. This sign is there at the site of his cottage, his cabin, which is long gone, by the way. Oh, the stones in the background, it's a pile of stones. It's a tradition that when people come to visit Thoreau's restored cabin site, they bring a stone. And as you can see, there are many thousands of stones there. It's a big pile of students of Thoreau. Here's what he said, and it's influenced me and so many others. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when it came to be the hour of my death, discover that I had not lived. I lived deliberately myself, inspired by Thoreau. I even went to the woods and built a house, but I'll tell you more about that later. Page 77. I am reading about Thoreau in a replica of his cabin at Walden Pond on the other page. Inspired, I too went into the woods and built a sustainable and creative habitat of my own, and named it Forest Moon. Pictures of that appeared earlier in this production. I wanted to live more deliberately and more simply. That's when I started my radical downsizing. I learned that possessions possess. Thoreau was a wonderful teacher and inspiration. Oh, look at the picture on the right-hand side one more time and you'll notice that just to fool around, I gave Thoreau a cell phone. Developing character. Obviously, the example of that is the United States Navy. I was a naval officer. I did well. Did not make it a career, but learned a great deal about responsibility. 50 years later, on my 77th birthday, I liked the character I had become. By age 77, I had gained enough grace and wisdom to get along in this world as it is. Not try to change it, just get along in this world as it is. I chose to enjoy every minute of my life I was granted to live. To know love and to be my truest self. Now I'm 82 plus, and it's still true, and even more glorious. Here I am in my high school yearbook, upper left-hand corner, then at age 30, at age 60, and age 80, plus a twinkle from my ageless Irish spirit. These 5 pictures are a pretty good encapsulation of my life, from a beamish young man to a twinkling old man. It's been a great ride, and character indefinitely has been a primary understanding, a place to start from. But there's more. Here are light fingers marking a W to draw down symbolically a worldwide wisdom. And then across the bottom, 3 charming characters. That's first is me with moose ears on, reading Dr. Seuss to kindergartners in New Hampshire, and secondly being wizardly in Minnesota, and finally steering the ship of life around San Diego Harbor. Character indeed. We play many roles in life. For me, Merlin is a major role. Another life role is that of prophet. And in this particular case, I believe I've come back to life after being a lifetime in Egypt as a royal scribe. Here I am being initiated by 2 high priestesses into the order of royal scribe with a lanyard and medal of silver that I hung around my neck for 50 years. I'm a man of many faces, and I have seen the shadow side of life, but I've always chosen the light. I've always chosen the light. A wonderful college class reunion. That was great. And hanging out with Ronald McDonald just for fun. And then dressed up pretty fancy for a wedding. Many characters and many roles. It's been a beautiful, faceted life. I was actually paralyzed for a short time, but I came back stronger than ever. And by the way, upper right-hand corner, that red suede coat is my Merlin costume. And the bottom left is me in my relaxed state. I finally learned to relax, but it took me 80 years. 4 aspects of my life that I treasure. At the bottom left, backstage at a theatrical presentation with projections and lasers and stuff. Bottom right, at a Hollywood party, a new Halloween party. Upper left, addressing a group of people before a pagan ritual. And finally, upper right, my fascination with crystals and facets and bending light that I've learned from my laser and holographic experience. I knew I was in the magical groove, the right place at the right time, when I saw this word on a dumpster. Wizard indeed. Here's one of the most important aspects of my life. My efforts to cite and arrange and mix and blend and technically support color and light, but mostly color, because I realize that I am a cloud of photons held in place by thought. You are a cloud of photons held in place by thought. Your thoughts change your thoughts, and you change your reality. Einstein himself said everything is energy. There can be no two ways about that. Match the frequency of the reality you desire, and you will get that reality. That's not philosophy, it's physics. Color has the opportunity to influence reality. Light is a greater being than we understand, but can use. I learned so much in my lifetime pursuing the technology and the application of light, color, form, music, and motion. I explored the spectrum of frequencies called color to discover the secrets of color and of light itself. Out of that research, lifelong, I created and marketed 2 therapeutic products and published my studies on color and light, lasers, fiber optics. It was a wonderful time to be born and to live and to be a light man. Page 89. Fiber optics changed my life, and when combined with my knowledge of astronomy, gave me a whole new career. I got jobs, some big jobs, creating and installing large, gorgeous, realistic replicas of the immense night sky with dazzling shooting stars. Page 90, testimonials. Good feelings come from doing good work. All my adult life, I learned how to make a living with my hands. Oh, there was some thinking and marketing and mental stuff, but mostly I spent many decades of hours in my wonderful workshops making a living with my hands and enjoying light and color around me all the time. Here are some testimonials that I got through the years. Quote, "These 10 skies by Joel are the 10 best decisions I made on this entire project. Aram Stepanian, lead architect, Caesar's Palace, Fantasy Suites. He was a tough customer to work for, too. But we did it." Here's another one. "Joel recreated the sky of our wedding night for our home theater. It is a masterpiece. There are planets, galaxies, even a shooting star. Everything turned out wonderfully. We were very satisfied." And another, the Fairbanks Ranch home of Dr. Richard Anderson. A planetarium pool with fiber optics embedded in the bottom. "You are to be commended, Joel. The pool turned out wonderfully." And finally, "The Zen light has made a big difference in the atmosphere of my home." This is from Dr. Alex Chester, a psychiatrist in Carlsbad, California. "Now when I go down to our family room, I feel invited and relaxed. I didn't realize how much difference this light could make. It's the first thing I turn on when I get home at night. I recommend it to my therapy patients." Those are some appreciated testimonials for a lifetime of client relations and installations and success. I created an accurate representation of the sky for any night in history for my clients. It was extra hard work, as you can see, up on scaffolding and doing whatever it takes to implant a whole ceiling with single and groups of fiber optics to make accurate skies just the way they look like outside. I use computers to print exactly the arrangement of planets in any night in history. Here is the essence of my creative vision. It's called Lumia. Let us read together. Lumia is a projection system whereby a multimedia collection of lights, lasers, motors, music, movement fill a screen or a wall with lustrous clouds of slowly changing colors, gracefully gliding, evolving, revolving so slowly from one intricacy to another, to another, to another. Truly kinetic art. I have performed Lumia concerts throughout my lighting career. The moving color clouds seem to positively affect the psyche of humans. Light and color, music and motion can be very therapeutic. In fact, light is the medicine of the future. Stay tuned. I had an opportunity to do a presentation at the Chopra Center in Carlsbad, California. It was well received and praised for the graceful movement and subtle colors. This is the brochure that I sent out for marketing for my main product, the Zenlight. Imagine, I wrote, being able to project a large, magnificent sunset onto your wall. But this sunset is in full Technicolor. Beautiful clouds of color illuminate your wall and ceiling with an exquisite display of the full 7 color spectrum, evolving from one color to the next in slow, graceful movements. Fill your room with calming, therapeutic light and color. Simply, the Zenlight transforms any room into heaven. You can read more on your own. The Zenlight was my biggest success. I invented and produced over 300 Zenlight kinetic color projectors and sold them to spas and therapists. Occasionally I get a chance to do something really unusual, often for stage sets and productions. And here I are at the Del Mar Fairgrounds with a light horse sculpture lit from inside, and then below it on the bottom of the page, a scene I designed with Norse gods and goddesses. I guess that makes us Norse and horse, huh? The planetarium pool. This was a project in Rancho Santa Fe, San Diego. Turn your pool into heaven. It was wonderful to swim in the stars. I loved to light up dancers, and I had many opportunities to do that. And on the left upper side, you see a sampling of some of my skies, fiber optic skies that I did and painted. One of my big and most creative and enjoyable, though challenging, projects was a large high-tech mansion in outside of Los Angeles back in 1990, yes. And I got a great write-up in the LA Times for this unusual, highly technical creation. It was one of my best big jobs, a very creative project. I'm so glad I left the corporate world. I didn't know what I was doing, but I wound up okay. I sought and found freedom and creativity and adventures, and most of all, I found the living God, and its name is Light. I've had a great life. Here are some popular projects. Here are career highlights. I loved my adventures in lighting and in living, some very avant-garde, some very traditional, some involving whole communities like the Flower Festival, some using dancers and special effects. I had some big jobs, fountains, pools, whole interiors, performances. It's been a great, great career. I'm grateful. Here are some samples of my multiple colored activity. Upper right-hand corner, Lumia is the art of kinetic light. It's been my mainstay for my whole career. And my best products combine 5 elements: light, color, form, music, and motion. I enjoyed many colorful projects and adventures in California where cosmic creativity is encouraged. Examples across the bottom, the Flower Festival and the spaceship at the Sawdust Festival in Laguna Beach. What a trip. My personal mission statement. This was on my wall for 20 plus years and guided me as best possible to focus and produce the life that I desired. Here's a quote that started me off. The greatest battles we ever fight are in the sacred, silent chambers of our soul. Ah, yes. My continuing 20-year mission, 1992 to 2012, is to demonstrate all over this planet how the fusion of light, color, form, music, and motion has specific, effective applications which can heal the body, clear the mind, and uplift the spirit of each and every willing member of our race. Light and color are the medicine of the future. I'll repeat that. Light and color will reveal themselves to be the medicine of the future. It's all about frequencies. This will be accomplished by creating, manufacturing, and worldwide distribution of a wide range of devices, products, and publications which reveal the primal, fully scientific powers of color and light and the empowering insights of Joel Heathcote. I accept sole responsibility for orchestrating every aspect of my creative life. I am able to present my purposes to worthy allies who joyfully join in the enterprise of manifesting both prosperity and inspiration. One result of this 20-year campaign is the establishment of the Foundation for Limitless Light, a campus of dynamic geometric buildings with a distinguished faculty. The central building, called the Wisdome, is the planetary focal point for the study and distribution of next-level light, lighting, and enlightenment. In addition, I have a home life that is rich, inspirational, loving, co-contributive, empowering, and entertaining. I enjoy health, wealth, wisdom, energy, exercise, partnerships, pleasures, global adventures, inner joy, and retreats of deep consideration and privacy. God is my source, and light is my means. Joel William Burnett Heathcote, 1992, founder, Limitless Light Studios. Quantum color. This page is a summation of what I've learned about color, light, vibration, and frequency over the years of my pursuit as a Limitless Light Studios. At the bottom, you can see specifics of the 7 colors, what they affect us, how they affect us, and their general impact on the human physiology. Read it and study it at will. It's a lot of good information. Why does color affect us? Meditators, therapists, and others recognize the invisible effect of inner color and inner light, stimulating both consciousness and creativity. For our purposes, however, we will examine the 2 main physical effects of color. They are listed below as number 1, the emotional body, and number 2, the cells of our very skin. Here's the takeaway. All of this adds up to a stunning conclusion. We are made of light. Everything that grows is made of light. Light is the source of all nutrition. Light is the regulator of our bodily systems. Light stimulates our emotions. There is one ingredient vital to all organic life like you and me, and it is light, and color is its language. If you get one thing from my work with color, that is the truth. I dedicated my life to understanding light and color and its effect on us. You may as well. The new moon and eclipse, April 9th, 1986, the year of the Comet Halley. Dear God, oh, how I love Thee. Though invisible, I see Thee in the briefest stirring of the just noticed leaf. Though voiceless, I hear Thee under the speakings of those who guide me. Though immaterial, I receive Thy substance and Thy abundance from every direction, every day. I thank Thee for Thy constant and continuous blessing of me, who is Thy loyal and joyous son and heir. Thou hast placed in my heart a great desire to make legions of light manifest on this earthly plane, for the delight and the dawning of remembering of the many souls here. I now ask that thou remove from me every obstacle that delays or hinders the outward manifestation in fullness of this divine desire. And as thy son and heir, I ask, nay, I claim of thy love the material means necessary to bring forth our noble vision in strength and in beauty. As thou hast privileged me to be the light man, to bring to this world the once again new vision of the eternal splendor of the limitless light, I ask thee now to guide me in every step of its perfect realization and to enable me to quickly bring each of our creations to life, that the eyes of the millions may see and the hearts of the millions may rejoice and be reminded of thy light, of thy love, of thy power. I hereby covenant with thee to devote all my life and all my resources to the confident realization of our great vision, letting thee guide me, enlighten me, and supply me in all of my ways for all of my days. Thank you, dear Father. Joel W.B. Heathcote, the architect of light. For 30 years of my life, my happiest times were when I was making lights in my own shop and selling them all over the world. I love light and all of its forms: lasers, fiber optics, color wheels, projectors, holograms, liquids. I love it all. I dedicated my life and career to my purpose, which is to discover the secrets of light and share them with a wide-eyed world. End quote. My fascination with physical light also led me to seek spiritual light, inner light, God light, and it produced deep wisdom and personal enlightenment. I have been so blessed by light.